can paradigm shift from poverty to prosperity for small and marginal farmers. And we have experts who would bring focus. My colleague, Dr. Ajay Sharma, would also emphasize on during the theme presentation. So this is a very quick overview for the program today. We'll have opening remarks by our chief guest, Her Excellency Ms. Rina Sandhu, and then we have our in-house expert, Dr. Ajay Sharma, followed by Dr. Fosnar, Mr. Fosnar from Ministry of Agriculture, and Mr. Kalyan from University of Wageningen, and Professor Singh from India, and Dr. Sheetal Dikshit, also my personal friend, and Terry, my personal friend, in a panel. I would also like to take this opportunity very quickly to tell about, so this is sort of a curtain raiser for our next upcoming big event. This is the poster of our book, which we are going to publish it on the occasion of 75th anniversary of India's independence, but also the bilateral relationship between India and Netherlands at 75 years, and together with Foundation for Indian Diaspora in Europe and Foundation for Critical Choices for India, we are going to organize a very big event, a grand event, most probably in a Castle de Wassenaar, somewhere in mid-September, but we'll come up with those dates soon to you. I will not take a lot of time to go into the details of all the events we had in past year or past time, but the most recent event I could talk about, where we took sort of an overview of what has happened in global pandemic we all face, COVID, and we had the Drug Controller of General of India, Dr. Somani, and also Professor Bhargava from Indian Council of Medical Research during this event. If I have to say, probably since 1980, we had more than 120 events of national and international character on diverse topic and critical topics, which are really important, which we think for the progress of India. And they keep changing. And if I look from the topic from 1980s and what we are talking today, you see the words like smart, resource efficiency, data technology, sustainability, circularity. These sort of words are getting more and more important. And I think what we are going through at this moment, where we need, for every new challenge, we need a very structured and coordinated response that probably cannot be done alone, but in collaboration and with help of sort of a global partners, where you create expertise together and you try to respond to such problems in a coordinated way. So we are trying to bring also a sort of a vision statement in our upcoming book, that how we see what sort of things are coming for India in this regard. I'm not going to take you into the long list of 120 different events we had it, but this list is also available on our website now and will be also part of our book, which we going to publish it soon on the topic. Last but not least, I would like to take opportunity to appeal all of you, at least most of you, because some of you are already a trustee to the foundation, that please join hand with us so we can better serve our motherland, India. Yeah? Thank you very much for your attention and looking forward for the event. Thank you. Small announcement. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome both of our moderators, Mr. Harjit Sandhu and Satrupa Bosroy, please. And I think from here, they would guide us and take us, and navigate us through the event, basically. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Agarwal. It's a pleasure meeting all of you. A very warm welcome. Without really taking any further time, I'm going to introduce to you the first speaker for this evening. And he's Dr. Ajay Sharma, and he's our own FCCI trustee. He's also the Regional Director of Dimitra Technology, working on smallholder farmers globally. Dr. Sharma, please.
The presentation on here. Thank you very much. Meanwhile, we are putting the technical things going on. Let me ask a simple questions to everybody. Do we know how many smallhold farmers? Yes, we have a small.
Yeah, there's a small hitch. I think Madam Ambassador should be the first speaker. You know.
I can speak.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm taking your spot, but in a minute. So just a simple question to everybody. Do we know how many smallhold farmers, or do we know the definition of smallhold farmers means? Let's assume the smallhold farmers is one who holds 1 to 2 acres of land. So if we take it globally, anybody guessing how many in the world are? So I'm guessing, let's say, between 100 to 200 million farmers. How many thinks there are between 100 to 200 million? Raise your hands.
In India?
Globally. So 200 to 500 million farmers, 500 million to 1 billion. Okay. So I'm talking about the farm owners. The who owns small old farms. So not the people who are working on the farms. So they are. So the statistical number is 570 million smallhold farm owners around the world. Okay, now we have the number globally. Do we know how many are in India?
120.
120. That's roughly right. So
I mean, here all this experts.
120 million owners. And since the last census, 2015 and 16, that's the number came. I was about to ask these people how much people know. Thanks, Kalyan. Yeah, but that's true. So if you look at the 120 million farmers, the owners, and the number of people depending on them, the working over the farms, with average family size of 5 to 6. So we have like 500 to 600 million people depending on active farming in India. We're only talking smallhold farming, not the big farming. So you could see that we have always associated farming with the poverty. We have always associated farming with something where people felt, yes, perfect. So the question here is, we are at the cusp of the farming revolution right now happening. The farming revolution happened in 60s in India. We called green revolution. We had white revolution with the milk, which Amul called it. But that's the digital revolution we are talking about right now. So we're going to cover this one slowly, and we will talk about it. I think the structure of this presentation is I will cover it. We will keep the questions for the panel, or we allow the time, because Pramod has given me 15 minutes, which is very small amount of time, and I will try to manage in that way. So I think this is a problem which we just refer to it. The agriculture technology is often unaffordable to farmers. When we talk about smallhold farmers, they are always hand to mouth. Most of the time, that's what we associate with them. Access to technology is very limited, and they can't afford it. And then they do not have the right practices. Can we do it? So if we're talking about 100 million, 120 million farmers on the ground, these are the backbone of India right now. How can we make them as the strength than a weakness? Because right now, it used to be associated as a weakness. So how can we make them poverty to prosperity to make this happen? And how this can be done? And this is a key question. So the first part, I divided my presentation into 4 parts. And the first presentation is I try to address some of the numbers. Then I just talk about small agriculture technologies. So I'm going to go very fast on it. And then some self-governance and income growth for the farmers. And then I will leave you with some key questions to think through, which we will address during the panels or more questions. So I would like to keep more thoughts for our audience than giving the answers all of the time. So this is just, we thought, 570 million farmers. That's how they're divided. Around 25% of the global farmers live in India. We have esteemed guests from Bangladesh also. So we have more than 20 million small farmers in Bangladesh. So I'm just following up on that one. So we as a team together can do a lot on that part. This is agriculture consensus 2015-16. So you see the numbers coming up, and these are the definition of what is marginal farmers and what is small farmers. I will not go in detail. Anyhow, this presentation will be available. So This is the challenge which we face. We do not have, so they own the 47% of the smallhold, the total cropping area in India. And they're facing the problem due to non-availability of quality inputs, lack of access to credit facilities, public resources, technology, limited quantity production, lack of assured market, all these things. And our Prime Minister vision is to double the income of the farmers. And this could be achieved only by doubling the income of smallhold farmers. So how can we achieve it? We cannot just do it by giving the money to them. The technology has to play a role. And some of the technologies I'm trying to address here. Before we do it, I think this is a picture I try to keep it. How does the agro-food value chain looks like? So if someone is not back from the farming background, which I used to be a few years back, and I accidentally ended up being a technologist in the farming invited by my cousin. He said, farming has a better future than any other thing. Then I said, okay, very strange. Then he explained with this picture, how does everything works? And he said, okay, it means if you look at it from the seed to the table you're eating, the farmer has to make all the steps. We have to address the total aspect of the farming. We cannot just look at the one thing and say, we can do the technology. So when we're addressing the full food value chain and the technology comes in every aspect, we remove all the blocking factors. And when we use the technology to remove those blocking factors, we can achieve the success. When we look at the technology, the thing is we cannot look one technology to make a success. We have to look multiple technologies, amalgamation of multiple technologies to reach success. So most of the time when I've seen in the technology in the sector, I have seen addresses someone doing blockchain, talking about AI, talking about drones, talking about so many things. All are needed. But all has to come together. And all has to come to be affordable to small farmers, not only for the rich. Rich is only 1 or 2% of farmers. And if we want to make 400, 500 million people direct farmers and depending on farmers, we have to give them access to technology and the credit facility and reduce the risk. And that can be done only by using technologies. The information, we call it smart agriculture. So can we do this? This is the smallhold farmers. This is a pocket. They don't have records. They use manual labor. Can we do smart agriculture, smart farming? Is this journey too far? That's a question which we need to address. So we have, and we all have, both things exist. There's nothing like nothing exists. The only thing is how do we connect it and make it accessible? I know that Zomato in India has reached every houses. So people don't cook anymore. All the women in India are very happy because they can get the food. They don't have to suffer the whole day for cooking. But if the Zomato can reach whole India, why not the farmer can? Because that's the backbone of it. That's where the food is coming from. So, as I said, the precision agriculture which we are reaching. So we look at when 2008 or the old times when the agriculture used to be simple, 19th century, it started with the cart. And if you look at 10,000 years ago, the human we exist is because of the agriculture. We are human. If the agriculture wouldn't have happened, we would not be less than any animal. So the agriculture is one of the driving factors which makes us human. And the spread of agriculture and making it created civilization. So the fourth level of civilization is called digital revolution in the agriculture. We call it precision farming. There is agriculture 4.0 or many names, but today we will going to call it smart agriculture for the sake of simplifying the discussion. I think we hear about big data and AI. People say, well, how can it help the smallhold farmers? Can we do it? And this is something I just say for the people who don't understand the word big data and AI. This is simple. Big data is collection, a lot of data. We are talking about 120 million farmers. We are collecting inputs from those farmers for their weather forecast, for their soil analysis, their crops, their crop diseases, how it has happened in history. How can they make it future? How can they execute the things? AI helps in all the categories. AI is just making it happen to bring those inputs, make sensible decisions, And the farmer don't have to understand the data of technical. The farmer has to know, I have to do this now. Go, the weather is good, crop this field because this is good for this soil. They just need this information. They don't need more than that. And most of the time they feed each other, they help each other. So how can you create it? Then when they have this one, then they should have the right information when it should go to market. Then create a marketplace for it. Then to all these things, they need money to do it. The bank says, okay, I can give the money to this farmer and reduce the risk. How? Because I have the satellite information of this farm. I know what they are doing it. My risk is managed. I don't have to survey the land. I will just do it as satellite pictures of this the land and make sure my risk management is done. I can provide the insurance, crop financing much cheaper. The cost of financing goes down. The cost of risk goes down. The access to finance increases. That's the technical revolution can do it. Then you can talk about delivery, execution, the AI brings in the help. So I'm not going in detail. If you want to go in detail, we will ask these questions. People talk about blockchain in agriculture. I think everybody talk blockchain and they talk Bitcoin. I'm not going to talk about it. I hope every farmer can have a Bitcoin. So we all will have the rich farmers, but we can have their own Bitcoin, a farmer coin. But the idea is not a blockchain of creating coins. Blockchain is not about coin technology. Blockchain is about creating trust in the whole chain. The blockchain is about creating trust without the partners knowing each other. Creating a transaction where the history cannot be manipulated. People has the trust in whole mechanism. So when this blockchain technology is in the marketplace, I just read the interview of Cargill CEO. I think it was a Cargill CEO. They were saying, if anybody, I am ready to pay a few extra cents if I know where this food is coming from. I know what type of soil being used. I know what is the nutrition in the food. If that trust factor is there, which can be provided by blockchain. The second is we can do a risk management through blockchain, which creates a full trust. So the role of blockchain in agriculture is very high, currently being pursued around. This is a practical application. I'm doing it with one of my partners in India, doing the use of drones for the crop health monitoring and protection from each and every stage, from seed to the final output. So that's what's happening right now. So you could see and the drones are very, people say the drone is the most easiest thing, but agriculture is the most difficult. The reason is they are very heavy. They need to carry a lot of chemicals to spray. The safety is important. Weather at that moment of time, if they move, it can create an health hazards. So all these factors come in play. And our Prime Minister has said we will have one drone in every village with a smartphone, which is, I love that statement, because when we have the drones in every village with a smartphone, we will have precision agriculture. And it will save a lot of chemicals which is going in the field unnecessary. So that's a benefit of being drone. It's not just reducing the manual labor, but doing it rightly at all the moment of time. Satellite in agriculture. This is the subject I love a lot. People say, what the satellite can do it. People say, okay, whether we can do it. There's something which we in India we are missing. We talk about smartphone, but people in village do not have access to no coverage. And getting those coverage on those villages is the most expensive thing. We have a lot of funds to give it to telecom companies to do it. But why not use satellite phones per village? So that if you have to create smart access, Elon Musk, Starlink, our Indian OneWeb, if you know that with Mr. Mittal, Bharti company, they are doing this to reach the farmers, satellite communication. And when you can reach a small farmers and create a network, you connect 500 million farmers to internet economy. The food is going directly with proper information, and they get the full information to do it, and the consumer gets it. The satellite can make changes. It will drastically change the way it's been done. So it's not anymore only weather forecasting or doing crop analysis. One of the projects which we are trying to do is to even access the soil quality. So we can see what are the carbon contents in the soil. And there is something lovely which I'm going to talk about it. Why don't we give carbon credit to farmer to do right farming? they can make extra money by just doing the right farming. By having the satellite pictures, you have the right quality, you can assure it. At the end, all the technologies has to amalgamate it to come into one shape. And this can only happen with the smartphones or something where they will have cheapest access to this technology, maybe few dollars per year. That's all they need to do. And they can make it happen. We don't need $100 technology access. They need $1 or $2 per year. They access it, they can do it. They go to marketplace, they save, they increase their income. So that was the technology part, which I want to talk. We will have this covered. I don't know, anybody heard about FPOs here, what FPOs stand for? Yeah. Oh yeah, they definitely is there. Right. But anybody heard about it or anybody have not heard about it? Yeah. This is, I will not say it's a big innovation, but I say that it is one of the biggest innovation which will make India grow. It's in the area of governance. This is the self-governance of farmers coming together to get access to technology and reach to the ground and to the market. And the technology is playing a bigger role because now 1,000, 10,000 farmers can come together. They can get subsidies from the government. They can create an equipment bank, which could be accessed by the small farmers in that area, which could be, means the government is giving a lot of things like subsidies, etc. They can make things happen because with FPOs, the farmer can access technology, they can learn the knowledge, they can start thinking what is possible. Which, as the story which I remember from my childhood, my father used to say, if you take one stick, you can break it. If you put 100 sticks together, you can never break it. And that is what FPO is going to do it. One farmer can go to suicide, but when they become the part of FPOs, they all come together. The thought of suicide in farmer in India will go away. And that can happen with this one. There's one more thing I wanted to add. Did anybody know that how much carbon the GHG, or we call it global house gas permissions, remind me of the time we have left. What is the contribution by agriculture? Whoever thought?
Second
after
fossil.
So we talk about the cars and everything. The agriculture is blamed being the second highest polluter in the world. So when we are eating the food, we are polluting. Have you ever thought of it? So we are the second. But how can you convert from being polluter to a contributor? That's the question we need to ask. So there are a couple of initiatives. So this is $50 billion to $100 billion market in India. It's a possibility and potential where with the right farming techniques, you can create income in the form of carbon credits for the farmers. You create regenerative farming, you can capture carbon in the soil, which is 4 times more than the air. So soil captures carbon 4 times more than air. So if you do the right farming techniques, no tillage, proper recirculation of the crops, you capture 4 times more carbon in the soil. And if you can link it to the carbon credit, you create income. In Netherlands, 1 GHG, they call it carbon equivalent. Do you know what is the price of that?
7 euros.
7 euros, but in the voluntary one. And in the France, I thought it's around 70, 80 euros it's reaching. And 1 acre of land with the right produce, something like I call it oil seeds, can capture up to 80 ton of carbon. And when you say 1 ton is equivalent to 50 euros or 10 euros to 80 euros, depending on where you are, you can number it. In India, 200 million farmers, 120 million farmers, everyone 1 to 2 acres of land. 1 acre of land can capture up to, means 80 tons of carbon equivalent. That is an additional income and market. That's a big size. And the satellite, you can do it. You don't need to do it, survey all the small ground. You can create and calculate all the carbon content. So convert into from polluter to a contributor. We can do that. And that is one of the biggest discussions happening around the world. Okay. So this is something where I say that what the smallholder farmers can say. So I think I'm on time. So I'm just trying to close it. So there are 4 pillars. I always say that the increase yield, reduce cost, mitigate risk, and include financial inclusion of the farmer, and how the technology can play a role. So this is the model which I borrowed it from a book which was published this year. It's in the notes, but something which we can do, put it amalgamations of these multiple technologies coming together with policies. So smart agriculture. So that's the theme which we have. We can reach SDG goal of reduce poverty. If the 500 million people in India, 120 million owners with 400 million dependent can remove, we can take them out of poverty, we can reach SDG goals. Pollution, we can reach an SDG goal of 2070 of our Prime Minister target by using technology to farming, because it can contribute then instead of polluter. And we can help giving the carbon credit to our power industry to come along, or other industries. Financial inclusion can help the farmers. I have some companies in India which is, instead of giving money to farmers like Kisan credit card, they're giving seeds and they're buying back from them. So they get a seed farming. And the advantage is they don't have to worry about money. They don't borrow it. They have ensured the risk is covered and they can solve the whole spectrum of it. So with the financial inclusion, they don't have to, the risk of losing money is gone. So they have 2 seasons to 3 seasons a year, which could be covered by this whole process. And their cost is covered. They have the proper income assured. They have the buyback all assured. And with the equipment bank, they can borrow it, which also comes as a part of self-governing model. The whole cost can reduce. My vision is every smallholder farmers can have income of 4 to 5 lakhs rupees per acre of land easily with the use of technology. So that is the potential we are talking. And I have seen in Maharashtra, some cities, states and cities, they are reaching that numbers and it can still grow. So I would like to keep my presentation with this thought that every smallholder farmers, regardless of economic standing, should benefit from simple, beautiful, and useful technology. Because when farmers thrive, entire economies thrive. I borrowed it from my CEO, but the point here is I believe in this statement strongly. So that's why I would like to say this is the most important. This is for one of our season sessions we are doing for FCCI, and I love doing it. So these are thoughts for the food, not food for thought. So the simple questions I would like to keep. If I have 1 minute, I can. I think the questions we keep it for the end. Right? Yeah. So I keep it till the next presenter comes so that people can just look at these questions and add more questions for the panel. Is that? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sharma. It was really an eye-opener. Rich farmer, technologically smart farmer. That is still an oxymoron for many of us. But here in this seminar, we are actually here to talk how to make this as a reality, how to make the farmers tech savvy, give them the right kind of knowledge, the right kind of means to be technologically advanced and not really do anything that would, let them take their lives. So let's really keep our hopes up. And I would really like to now take this opportunity to please welcome our respected ambassador, Her Excellency Mrs. Rinat Sandhu, for her wise words, please. Can I please have you all here?
Can I use the?
Yes. Just a moment.
please mind the wires, ma'am.
Okay.
I'm speaking.
Yeah, it's because it's recording live.
Oh,
The yeah, mic.
I don't know. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to meet you all and to join you for today's seminar on smart agriculture for India. My congratulations to the Foundation for Critical Choices for India, FCCI, for organizing this seminar on a very topical subject, and a subject that has a lot of relevance as far as India-Netherlands relations is concerned. It is also the first seminar in physical mode after COVID, and my first interaction with the FCCI. So it's a great honor to be here along with other distinguished speakers and panelists. As you are all aware, the agriculture sector plays a very vital role in India's economy. Though it accounts for less than 20% of our GDP, agriculture and its allied sectors provide the largest source of livelihood to 70% of rural households. Over 80% of them are small and marginal farmers. It is natural, therefore, that agriculture has always been a central focus of government policy. Whether it was the Green Revolution of the 1960s, during which agriculture was modernized by the adoption of new technology, high-yielding variety of seeds, adoption of new irrigation facilities, pesticides, fertilizers, mechanized farm tools, or the white revolution of the 1970s, the world's largest dairy development program, which transformed India into the world's largest producer of milk. India has made huge strides in using technology for enhancing productivity and growth in the agriculture sector. Through a mix of policy initiatives and the hard work of our farmers, India is today the largest producer of spices, pulses, milk, tea, cashew, and jute, and second largest producer of wheat, rice, fruits and vegetables, sugarcane, cotton, and oilseeds. In recent years, however, the agriculture sector has been facing a number of challenges, such as yield plateaus, soil degradation, water stress, nutrition deficiency, volatile prices, inadequate infrastructure, linkages, post-harvest losses, low farmer incomes, and declining productivity. These challenges require a multi-pronged approach and involvement of multiple stakeholders. Keeping all this in mind, the Government of India has launched a number of programs and schemes to help our farmers increase their incomes and to enhance productivity. The recent budget of the Government of India pays a lot of attention to promoting smart, sustainable, and modern agriculture practices. It recognizes the importance of technological innovation in helping farmers earn higher incomes through better planning of crops and ensuring greater predictability using artificial intelligence and smart technologies. The government has launched a number of programs. It's difficult to enumerate all of them here, but to just say in general, and I think the speaker before me did refer to the formation and promotion of 10,000 farmer producer organizations, FPOs, by 2027-28, which will promote a cluster approach, which is focused on one district, one product for development of product specialization. And the scheme intends to bring more and more small and marginal farmers on a bigger platform as a joint entity to help them become Atmanirbhar or self-reliant in the long run. There are other programs like the Krishi Vigyan Kendras. There are about 700 of them, which have been functioning since the 1970s and play an important role in imparting know-how to farmers. They give information on crops, subjects in a particular region. They are generally attached to agricultural universities, ICAR institutes, and to NGOs. But the idea is to help the farmers at the grassroots. Niti Aayog has been partnering with companies like IBM and Microsoft for developing a crop yield prediction model using artificial intelligence and also using AI sensors for providing real-time advisories to farmers. Drone technology is also a very important area of focus presently, because we recognize the important role that drones will play for agriculture, and a project called the Sensor-Based Smart Agriculture involving 6 institutes has been launched, which will use drones for smooth scouting over landfills, for collecting data and information on soil and crop health, and transferring data to farmers on a real-time basis. And the speaker before me spoke about the importance of satellites also in this regard. We are also setting up centers of excellence to serve as demonstration and training centers for latest technologies in horticulture development. The centers serve as a source of planting material for fruits and vegetables. And we have, with the Netherlands, an agreement to set up around 25 centers of excellence. Some of them have already been implemented, and the others are under implementation. Then we have the Electronic National Agriculture Market, or the ENAM, which has been launched to create a unified market for agricultural commodities by networking the existing agriculture produce marketing committees, or APMCs. And this was also one of the topics covered by the previous speaker, the marketing networks and the role that they play in helping farmers enhance their incomes. There are other schemes, and I will not go into that. But I do want to mention that in addition to the government, the private sector also has a very important role to play in enhancing the growth and development in the agriculture sector. It is heartening to see that agri-tech startups are taking the lead in bringing smart implementable solutions to farmers in India. Starting from around 40 startups in 2013, India currently has over 1,300 agricultural startups, and 700 of these agri-tech startups have come up over the last 3 or 4 years. These startups are actively employing artificial intelligence, machine learning, Internet of Things to increase efficiency and productivity. There is also growing investment in the agri-tech startup sector. With increasing rural penetration of the internet in the country, India stands well equipped to adapt to changing methodologies in agriculture and transition from the conventional forms of agriculture and doing business to innovative business models propelled by agri-tech. Private sector companies can also take advantage of the production-linked incentive scheme in the food processing sector, which is again an important link to help the farmers. In this backdrop, there is great scope for collaboration between India and the Netherlands in terms of, if we look at the complementarities in India's needs and the Dutch strengths in agri-technology, in irrigation, in wastewater management, circular economy, food processing, to name a few. We have a joint working group between India and Netherlands on agriculture, which is meeting regularly to discuss some of these opportunities. And as I mentioned, we also have an ongoing collaboration in setting up centers of excellence in India using Dutch technology. We hope that Dutch companies will take note of the opportunities and participate in expanding Indian agri-tech sector. Areas where Dutch companies can share their best practices and cooperate with Indian companies include Indo-vertical farming, farm automation, livestock farming technology, modern greenhouses, blockchain, and artificial intelligence. They can also invest in research and development to help farmers with better yielding varieties, logistics, and even soil management and irrigation. Food packaging is another area because we have a lot of wastage of food in India. So packaging technologies is something where, again, if Dutch companies have the expertise, we can look and explore at collaboration in this area. I will conclude by saying that as the Indian agriculture and allied sector is proactively adopting modern technologies, Dutch agri-tech players can play a vital role in supplying these advanced technologies to farmers and help usher the smart era in the Indian rural economy. Currently, there are few players in the market, but catering to approximately 120 million or 200 million farmers in a country provides a huge opportunity for Dutch companies to expand their footprint in India. We can also explore tie-ups between Indian and Dutch universities specializing in agriculture research to work together in providing smart solutions to farmers. I'm looking forward to the discussions today. I hope we will see some interesting ideas emerge out of the deliberations, and we will be able to identify some concrete areas of how to take our cooperation forward between India and Netherlands in this very important topic of smart agriculture. Thank you.
Thank you, Her Excellency. It was really nice hearing from you, and let's really hope that we come up with some good cooperation and some concrete thing in this seminar itself, which will sort of, pave the way towards future collaborations. Our next speaker today is Frederick. Frederick studied agricultural economics at Wageningen University with a special interest in business development and international relations. After a few years in the Common Agricultural Policy Division of the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries, he represented Dutch agricultural interests at embassies in France, Japan, Korea, Thailand, and then Argentina as well. In 2012, he was appointed as manager of the Climate Smart Agriculture Program of the Ministry of Economic Affairs. He also participated in the World Bank-led Global Food Safety Partnership and oversaw several other international initiatives of the ministry. Along the way, Frederick was a writer for Japan International Journal and is also the author for several non-fiction books which was published here in the Netherlands. Frederick is also a member of the board of GSRD Foundation since January 2018. The floor is all yours, sir.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellencies, good afternoon. It's really a pleasure to be here. I think after this introduction, what more can I tell you about myself? I think everything has been said. Thank you very much. And in particular, it's an honor for me today to meet the new ambassador of Republic of India in the Netherlands. I know the appointment is in the making to make your acquaintance at the ministry, madam, and it's been worked at, the agendas are being studied, but it's a really privilege for me here this afternoon to have you in the audience and to listen to your speech, because when listening, I think there's not much we can tell you because you are very well informed and well acquainted with Dutch agriculture already. Still, I will try to give some insights into Dutch agriculture, also for the audience that is online. And maybe I should start as the previous speaker did, by asking you how many small farmers you think there are in the Netherlands. Well, the number was already very low, and it's getting lower every day because our farmers are just getting bigger. Maybe I should ask how many farms are there in the Netherlands? Well, probably Kaljan knows the answer. It's now about 52,000, a little bit more than that. But the number, I think the turn of the century was almost double. Almost double. So there's a concentration going on in Dutch agriculture that is not really evolutionary, but revolutionary. And I will give you some examples of that. Now, is this moving to the next slide? Not like this either.
You can use the button.
This one?
Yeah.
Yes. Well, Dutch agriculture, there's some figures here, and our country is really very small when you look at the 4.2 million hectares for the whole of the country, and about half of that is a little bit less is agricultural area, and the soil types really determines the activities that take place. You see 1 million hectares of grasslands. As you know, maybe half of our country is below sea level, and where there is grassland, probably there is not much else you can do than just have cows grazing, because the heavy machinery will just sink in the swamp, if you allow me to call it that way. These very strong sectors of our agricultural sector are like dairy, potatoes, pork, glasshouse, horticulture, flower bulbs, poultry. And the most striking aspect of that maybe is that most of those sectors do not count on heavy EU regulation or subsidies, maybe except for the dairy sector. But most of these sectors and the success in those sectors illustrate the entrepreneurship, I think, of our farmers, and also their drive for innovation. Most in particular, that shows in the glasshouse horticulture area, because that's only 9,000 hectares. 9,000 hectares, and the production value is billions. Well, I worked 5 years in Argentina. You have many farms in Argentina that are larger than 10,000 hectares, but they are not they are just a small blip on the map of Argentina. But in the Netherlands, just 9,000 hectares of glasshouses has led to a sector of our economy, which I probably, maybe it's my personal opinion, but I think I express the opinion of many if I say that the glasshouse horticultural sector is maybe the most competitive of our economy, because the drive of innovation and entrepreneurship there is particularly strong. So the Netherlands is known as a, this is a kind of introduction to explain later what the sense of our cooperation with India is, because the Netherlands, it is listed here, is the second largest exporter of agricultural products in the world. And sometimes even in the Netherlands, not many people know this. And people would expect that the figure would become lower and lower, but actually last year again we broke the record, another increase of 9%, and the value of our exports is over 100 billion euros. It's accompanied by a large amount of imports as well. and sometimes then people think, well, you import a lot, so you can re-export it. Yeah, well, I mean, you tell them that 28% of what we import is actually re-exported, and that is low. Right? Many people think, oh, 28% re-export is very high. No, no, no. If you compare it to the rest of the economy, the re-exports is low, because in the rest of the economy, you will see that 55% of what we export is actually was previously imported. Well, we don't have many raw materials, so then it doesn't come as a surprise, maybe. So the imports went up as well, and also our export performance is a little bit put in perspective if you see that over 50% of those exports is actually carried to neighboring countries, well, including the United Kingdom in this case. China has been, the mainland China has been a very interesting trading partner in the last couple of years, particularly because of infant formula of high quality dairy products. But yeah, it's a really significant market nowadays. And this is an interesting slide, because I think the United Nations a couple of years ago, they mentioned the fact that worldwide now half of the population of the total in the world is now living in cities, illustrating the urbanization and the pressure on farmers to deliver food to the city people. Well, the first country worldwide to reach that landmark, if I might call it that way, that 50% is living in cities, was the Netherlands, because already in the 17th century, people discovered that, you know, they were trading overseas and going around the globe, and that it was more attractive to buy food instead of producing it themselves. So Dutch farmers were already in the 17th century providing food to the cities. And the interesting thing also is that the second country to reach the 50-50 division was the United Kingdom in the Industrial Revolution. And that happened 200 years after that this happened in the Netherlands. So Dutch farmers are used to traditionally to supplying food to cities. And of course, it is not just to produce. And it, you know, the Netherlands, it was already mentioned, and particularly also by the ambassador, saying that the Netherlands is a powerhouse for agriculture, but we cannot disconnect it from the importance of logistics, because you can produce as good as you are, but if you are not able to produce the right quantity in the right quality at an agreed upon time to a certain place, you're not worth anything. So yeah, Dutch agriculture cannot be seen separate from an excellent logistics sector. And of course, our location here at the deltas, you know, helps. All these rivers coming together, the close proximity of these urban centers. But an interesting fact, because of that logistics, a fact that not many people in the Netherlands would ever realize, is that our country is the second largest exporter of avocado. We don't grow any avocado. None of our small or big farmers produce avocado, but we import them from Peru, from Mexico, from many different countries, because the retailers in Europe, they don't want these hard green products that they have to keep for many days before they are ripe and can be sold to consumers. They want them ripe, packaged, and they want them delivered right in time. And the Dutch are excellent at that. The ripening of avocados well, it's not easy. Same goes for bananas, but the Dutch managed to do that, and it makes us the second largest exporter of avocado in the world. Now, this is a serious slide, ladies and gentlemen. This is a serious slide, because in the past, you know, we had the COVID crisis, and then from one day to another, the war starts in Ukraine. And from then on, you notice in politics, but in the ministry, again, very strongly on the agenda is food security. It was in this part of Europe, certainly it was always a given. Nobody worried about food security. But there are some things coming together here that make the life of farmers more difficult. And it is a growing concern for many governments in Africa, in the Middle East. And, you know, the pressure on food production is huge. First of all, I should, of course, mention climate change. And that is also very much happening in India, of course. The availability of water is really a concern. And also in the Netherlands, you know, there has been drought. In other parts of Europe, there has been drought. The weather extremes, well, India is suffering from the heat in large areas, also in Pakistan. At the same time, you'll see the middle class is growing and they are changing their diets. And then, of course, there's the war in Ukraine. And it has two effects, that the export of grains is probably not going to happen for a long, long time. So the governments, in, as I said, mentioned Africa, Middle East, are very much under pressure, because how are they going to supply basic food to their people with all the political problems and social unrest that can deliver? But also energy prices rising. Dutch fishing boats are not sailing at this, are not going out because the gasoline is too expensive. And in other parts of the world, tractors are not driving. And the same consequence is that the availability of fertilizers is not a given nowadays. So in Latin America and Mexico, I heard, you know, farmers are just skipping a season because they think they simply cannot afford it, and there's no, you know, there's no credit. So this is as a huge consequence. And so also, you know, previously people might depend on, you know, import, export, but where are the ships? Where are the containers? Maybe stuck in Shanghai port somewhere, or in the Black Sea. So this dependency on international trade is another concern for food security. And this is happening now, and you cannot, you know, we can develop policies and we can think of many new ideas, but for some groups, for some countries, this might all come too late. Now, focusing on what the Dutch government, our G2G cooperation with India is, and also beyond that, beyond our government, also our private sector. So you see, we come from a highly competitive agricultural system. So how can we work together with India? Now, first of all, and it was already underlined in the first speech, that what India has done, I call it the tech stack, but in many digitalization, artificial intelligence, the IT sector in India has done so much good to lift people out of poverty, open the rural areas, making the life of farmers so much easier that it is really impressive. These technological breakthroughs are, in farming is becoming an exciting thing from the IT point of view. But of course, and also the Netherlands, we know a lot about technology in agriculture, but let's not forget the big picture, that the essential is producing in harmony with nature. And it is, for those that live in the Netherlands, you know that our agricultural sector and sustainability and politics, we have become, our agricultural sector is very much under pressure to deliver that sustainability, in the first place to consumers, but also to citizens. And those are different people, because consumers do not always buy what citizens say is important, if you understand the difference. And of course, so the essential is production in harmony with nature, yes. And the second is, you have all these challenges, and I've listed here a few, like this climate adaptation. We very strongly believe in the power of genetics here, in the latest varieties. There's so much happening also there, you know, seeds and new varieties that are drought resistant, or that are disease resistant, or that are more productive, that have a longer shelf life. There's a lot happening, and water efficiency, that is, as I said, drought resistant varieties, but next to that, the water efficiency, energy policies, protected cultivation, these are all strong points of the Dutch agriculture, biological pest control, and alternative for fertilizers. Those are things that we think are important in our discussion with any Indian entity, government or non-government. And of course, there's different crops to choose from. The millets, I think, is this year the year of millets, or next year? Next year, year of millets, yeah, a very important crop, sometimes underestimated, maybe more resilient when it comes to the climate challenges. And of course, yeah, also for the Dutch, that the farmers will have to produce according to consumers' and citizens' demands. Now, in our G2G cooperation, we have the Joint Agriculture Working Group. It's been in place, I think, since 2012. We just the early days of the Corona epidemic, we had the 6th session of the Joint Agricultural Working Group. And the flagship of that cooperation is certainly our centers of excellence. They had a kind of a slow start, but the first mentioning was already in 2012, but there are now 5 in operation. The picture was taken at the opening of the Baramati Center of Excellence in Maharashtra. That is a vegetable center of excellence. Recently opened with the other ones in also in Maharashtra, one for flowers. In Punjab, there's one for potato, Kashmir for fruits. And in Karnataka, there is also a vegetable greenhouse that is used as a center of excellence. And there are 3 under construction and to be completed very soon. As the ambassador mentioned, the prime ministers of our countries agreed upon that we should have 25 of these centers by 2025. We're working hard for that. We did some research. I will not say we had a report made to evaluate the process because we want to reach that 25 by 25. What kind of improvements we could make to these centers of excellence. You can see them on the slide. I think if I may highlight a few, the involvement of the private sector would be very helpful, whether they are retailers, exporters or processors, but to have the private sector connected to those centers of excellence. We, of course, it is an Indo-Dutch center of excellence, but there's international tendering to get them, to get the construction underway. That's also a little bit difficult if for a Dutch center of excellence, we have to compete with our Italian competitors. But we have now 4 consultants of PUM, this Dutch Senior Experts Program, fully involved with in this process. And there's a liaison, an Indian, Dr. Taranam. I think she's well known in many vegetable producing circles, but she's now the embassy liaison to make sure that all the people that talk about centers of excellence are on the same wavelength. So we're very excited about the progress we're making there. But still, we have, of course, from the Dutch side, we have a few items that we want to discuss also in the coming years. I think the most, the Dutch greenhouses are very strong in biological control. There's no grower that uses chemicals in his glass house because there are biological alternatives. We still have difficulty in getting them on the Indian market, because chemical pesticides, it's bad for the farmer, it's bad for the consumer, it's bad for the environment. We think we can make huge contributions to the sustainability of the Indian farming sector. And next to that, you will see the bumblebees for pollination. There also, we think we can make some steps. These pollinators are more efficient and they work 24 hours a day. We will try to make steps there as well. Another thing where we are discussing I mentioned the importance of latest varieties. Apple trees are an important example of that. India, of course, is the Olympic champion when it comes to apple growing and apple consumption. But many of the trees in the north, in Punjab, for example, are over 100 years old and are ending their productive life. The Dutch have some very good new varieties, but also there we have difficulty in getting them to the market. And of course, when it comes to new varieties, the breeders' rights is always an issue. And there is a treaty, the UPOV, the Union pour la protection des organismes végétaux, and it's a French abbreviation, but it's a treaty that looks after the breeders' rights and the royalties, which we think is important. And I know India is thinking hard to become a member of it. But it's, of course, that is about getting varieties to the market from the Netherlands. But at the same time, let's also acknowledge the importance of Dutch seed companies that are already present in India with their investments. This picture was taken, I think, not far from Bangalore, where the company Rijkswaan has a huge research facility, and they're not only working on Dutch crops. You can see the picture. Actually, I recognize that person standing there. I think, yeah, I recognize him. I think it's me. But they also work with Indian crops. So they put their knowledge and they put their know-how also to work on Indian crops and Indian varieties there. And of course, there's a lot more happening. This was a little bit about the G2G efforts. But what we try to promote and what also we think is improving, strengthening the food system, which is also very beneficial for small farmers. We also promote imports. We promote investments in Indian agriculture and in the Netherlands. Companies like Kijin, but also Zeelandia and Kirimco, LT Foods, joint ventures, food safety cooperation. There's a mission going next week to discuss antimicrobial resistance in many sectors like poultry. That's a really important issue. So there are many ways where the Netherlands and India cooperate for a stronger food system, which then in the end is also beneficial for small farmers in India. And yeah, it really illustrates that the challenges that are illustrated in one of the previous slides, that we really are facing that together. This picture I took in a Noida greenhouse not far from Delhi, because this is really, I took this picture a bit by coincidence, and then later when I came to the hotel, I thought, yeah, this picture tells the whole story. This is what we want as a Ministry of Agriculture, because yes, we are the largest exporter, second largest export of agricultural products. In 2020, we exported 1.8 billion worth of tomatoes. Is it our ambition to push that over 2 billion? No, not at all. That is our ambition. This is our ambition, which you see on the slide, that tomatoes are being retailed in India with on the package. So to impress the consumer, it says crafted by Dutch technology. Yeah, this is our ambition. And you know, this international cooperation, yeah, we think that's crucial for sustained success. And this is what we're after. And of course, I should acknowledge this. You were there also, Kalyan, at that the food fair in Delhi in 2017. It's a pity there was not a second to this, but we and I really also hope I can bring that message across online, because we the Netherlands agricultural sector realizes that the Netherlands is a privileged partner when it comes to the development of agriculture. So I want also on behalf of the whole of our ministry, I want to express my gratitude for this idea that has caught on in India. This picture could also have been taken in Punjab, I guess, but it's not. But thank you for your attention. It also has my contact details. There was a large animal husbandry show in Utrecht in the past few days. Also met many people from India there, by the way, for technology in animal husbandry. And when I just arrived here, I discovered that I had spent all my business cards there at that exhibition. I think also some people from India got one. So that's the good news. But the bad news is, Madam Ambassador, I cannot give you my business card today. But I hope, well, for those, my details are in the picture. But thank you very much for the opportunity to talk to you today. And I hope we can continue our cooperation in good times and all the good times to come. Thank you. Yeah, nice.
Thank you, Frederick Boston. That was really amazing. Your enthusiasm sort of resonated in the hall, and I hope that really travels to India as well. And we really have something really great for India. So thank you so much. It's really excellent hearing you. All right, moving on forward, we have our next speaker, who is also from the Netherlands. His name is Kalyan Chakravarti, and he is from Wageningen University and Research. Before working in Wageningen, he worked with the Wageningen Environmental Research as a senior researcher, wherein he was mainly involved in carrying out international project assignments on metropolitan food clusters, development and climate, smart agriculture as a project leader. He also served as a member of the advisory committee of postgraduate diploma from 2012 to 2019. Dr. Chakravarti, can we please have you on stage? Thank you so much.
Very good evening, good afternoon, Excellency Ambassador Sandhu, other dignitaries here, and also participants, I understand, joining online. It's very difficult for me to keep up the tempo after some, excellent presentations and your inspiring speech, ma'am. But I'll try my best to keep you enthused. I think being a last speaker is not easy in any session. Well, I'll start off by underscoring the importance of the importance of working. Okay. Yeah. The importance and challenges related to small farming in India, I think this is already touched upon by Ajay in detail. But I'd like to underscore the fact that 80% of the farmers in India are small and marginal, which means that they are really dependent on agriculture for their livelihoods. And the fact that about 40% of the food in India is still being produced by small and marginal farmers means that we are also dependent on the small farming, for food security of the nation. And I think Ambassador already mentioned that 1/5 of the GDP is also dependent on agriculture, and half of that coming from small farmers. So it is very significant to the economy. But when we think about formulating strategies, involving smart technologies for agriculture, I think we should understand it from two perspectives. One is from the lens of the small farmers who have real pain points to continue in agriculture. I think somebody said, I think Freek, you said that in Netherlands, not many people are in agriculture. Same is happening in India. I've seen some ghost villages also in Punjab where there's no farmers anymore. So it's a back-breaking, occupation, and also no guarantees on return. There's a lot of risks involved. So if you have to see what has to keep farmers gainfully employed in agriculture, I think that is where digital technologies come to the help. And that has to be seen from two perspectives, as I was saying. One is the immediate pain points of the farmers so that they stay engaged in agriculture. And when I interview farmers, I travel a lot to India. The first thing they tell you is no longer, inputs and diseases, etc. But the first thing on their mind is labor. Every farmer today will tell you that they don't have labor, especially during the planting, during harvesting. That's where there's absolutely no one. So we have to take into account how smart technologies can help solve that problem. Second is price. There's still a lot of dependence on middlemen in India, when it comes to produce price. So how do we ensure that this disintermediation happens? I think Ma'am Ambassador already mentioned about the ENAM initiative. That will go a long way, but how does it trickle down into solving the real problem of price discovery and transparency? Blockchain was discussed about, but how do you take it to the farmer? So the other thing is, of course, input availability. Freek, you mentioned about the fertilizer shortage, also seed shortage. Even it happens even now. And don't forget, water is an input as well. It's drying up. There's free electricity in many states. It's a one-way traffic. They just keep pumping up all the water, whether the crop needs it or not. So, and of course, there's also sometimes, infestation of pests, there's outbreaks of diseases and pests. So that is also a problem. But there is another perspective we have to look into when you talk of digital technologies. And this is not felt or perceived by the farmers. That is soil health. I've read some very disturbing reports on how the soil health in India is deteriorating. The organic matter is coming down. Soils are, it has almost reached a tipping point. Very soon, none of the soils in India will be fit for farming. That's a disaster in the making. So the organic content of the soil is really being compromised. A lot of chemical fertilizers going in. That is something we have to take into account. Biodiversity erosion, this is something even we as educated people don't understand. It's a time bomb in the making. When it comes to climate change, we see extreme weather events and the manifestations. So you can relate, what happens when there's a flood, when there's an earthquake, when there's a forest fire, it affects you, or when there's a dry spell or a drought. But biodiversity erosion, I was reading an FAO report which was launched in 2020. They said every day we're losing about 150 to 200 species. And all these species are responsible for the ecosystem of the whole, farming. And if one species is missing, sometimes if it's a keystone species, it can lead to some outbreaks of diseases, pests. So these go unnoticed, and it is a time bomb in the making. So by 2030, if you don't get biodiversity positive food systems, they're saying that it will lead to a food security issue for the whole planet. So that's a very disturbing thing. Climate change, I think we all understand. So, but my point is, while formulating strategies, it's very important to take the immediate pain points of the farmer, but you also have to come from an academic lens to understand what are the long-term problems that have to be addressed. I come to the how part now. I think Wageningen is already across the chain. One way of understanding how to intervene, when coming up with digital solutions, is understand what kind of technologies and solutions you can bring to the pre-harvest and processing part, but also those in blue, which are highlighted, which have to do with distribution and also consumption. That doesn't seem to be directly relevant to small farmers, but the fact is small farmers are really, really dependent also on what is the quality of the produce, because only then they can get a price. So I have some videos to show. I'll start with the first video, which has to do with what Freek mentioned about seed and planting material, what we're doing in this space. We have a flagship initiative called the National Eco-Phenotyping Center. Can I play it? Yeah. Always have a problem with this.
One of the newest research facilities. One of the newest research facilities for Thailand is MPAC, the Netherlands Law Eco-Phenotyping Center.
We're standing here in front of the image.
Yeah. Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
One of the newest research facilities for Thailand is MPAC, the Netherlands Law Eco-Phenotyping Center.
We're standing here in front of the imaging unit of the MPEC greenhouse facility. And in this facility, we phenotype plants. Phenotyping means that we want to have an objective measure of the appearance of a plant. And it goes quite far, so much further than what you can see by eye, because we measure different traits and many time points for a lot of plants for a fairly long time. So the traits that you study can be very many. You have to think about the height of the plants, the color of the plants, the color of the flowers, but also how many leaves a plant has, or what is the total projected leaf area of the plant, or how many roots does the plant have, and how thick are these roots. And if we know how plants grow and develop, and we know that for many different types of plants, we can actually predict how a plant will grow. So we can predict how many flowers it will make, how many fruits it will bear, and how tall it will grow. And that's very important if you would like to improve these traits. So this facility is paid for by the Dutch government and also by Wageningen University and Research and by the University of Utrecht. And so this is a national facility for research. So academic users can come to this facility, and we especially encourage academic users that collaborate with commercial partners to do research here. It's really nice to work in such an environment in this new facility, but we're going to work with state-of-the-art equipment which no one else in the world has. We're also developing new tools to use this equipment and also new plans to projects which you can execute in this facility.
So that was a video on a national phenotyping, eco-phenotyping center. Basically, I think Sheetal, you know how difficult it is to breed a new variety or a new trait, say if it's for drought resistance or if it's for more input use efficiency or for disease resistance. It takes about 8 to 10 years to develop a new seed variety or a clone for a planting material. But through this facility, we can accelerate the process of developing new varieties. Now, coming to storage and transportation, which is agro-logistics, I think Freek already mentioned the importance of that. What made Howland great is not just the production technologies, but the agro-logistics, the smart agro-logistics. And in Wageningen, we have what is called Phenomia, which is a very unique research facility. It's probably the one of its kind in the world. Invested a lot in that facility, where you can any problem owner can come with a supply chain problem, and he goes back with a solution, because we have a commercial scale testing facility. So all aspects related to how to store fresh produce, how to ensure quality, how to ensure smart distribution, all those are there. And I also have a video to show you on that. We use a hyperspectral imagery and other robotics. This one. Yeah, this one. This one. Yeah.
In 2017, Phenomia opened its doors. It contains research facilities in the fields of post-harvest technology, robotics, storage line, logistics, and packaging. What was the importance of this research facility for partners in the food chain? As you mentioned, this is the post-harvest research facility Phenomia. It's a state-of-the-art research facility where we look at quality of fresh produce throughout the whole supply chain. So what we also developed here is innovative measurement systems to measure quality and quality features of fresh produce, and we utilize that also in our research. As well, that here in this facility, we look at technologies to preserve quality, such as refrigerating technology, controlled atmosphere, but also packaging technology. And even here we have a facility where you can drive in a complete truck, and we can change the environment around the truck and to measure how well that refrigerated truck is performing in all kinds of situations. For me, it's very interesting to work here because I work with products that you encounter in your daily life, so fresh fruit and vegetables. And it's of the utmost importance for people that those products are available and that you can eat them to benefit your own health. And that is our daily business, ensuring that those products are available and of the right quality so we can consume them.
Yes. And the last presentation, though not directly relevant to small farmers, but as I said, it has a bearing on small farmers because this has to do with One Health. We have an initiative called One Planet, where we collaborate very closely with the Radboud Medical Center. The idea is in the future, we will probably have high-end consumers going for tailor-made foods according to suit their particular health profile. So this is a very interesting application. So farmers, today, if they are still very supply driven in India, but we are already seeing in apples, India, Freek, you mentioned India is a superpower in apple consumption. That's true. We produce a lot of apples, but the high-end consumers already pay a premium for imported apples, even though there's an import duty. So we import 500,000 tons of apple every year. So if you don't supply what the consumers need, the high-end metropolitan consumers in Delhi and Bombay, Bangalore, Hyderabad, the whole of NCR, they will only go for imported foods, if they don't have that quality. So they're no longer price sensitive. So it is only imperative that in the coming decades, we invest a lot in understanding what the consumer mindset is and take that backward information flow to the producers so that they benefit and get a better return for the produce. So in that context, I thought I'll show you this video as well.
In the plus ultra buildings, you can find companies and organizations like One Planet Research Center across over in the Huis of Agri-Food.
One Planet Research Center is an innovation center for chip and digital technologies in agri-food and health. We are a collaboration of IMEC, is an institute of nano and chip technology, of Wageningen University in Research, and of Radboud University and Radboud Medical Center. We develop innovations on the crossroads of agro, food, high-tech, and health. And with these innovations, we pay a contribution to the societal challenges we stand for, like climate change and improving public health. Our expertise for sensor development, sensor connectivity, data and AI, and also application development to build prototype solutions also in this center. With the knowledge of all our partners, we apply this expertise in the domain of precision health and nutrition and precision agriculture, food and environment. We work in collaboration with the ecosystem, and that ecosystem consists of industry partners, the international, national, regional partners from high-tech, agri-tech, agri and food industries, but also with the potential end users of the solutions, with farmer organizations and farmers or care homes who will use the applications at the end.
So that was the video on our One Planet initiative. I think you got a broad sense. This, of course, doesn't cover everything that we do. We have a lot of sensor technologies. We help small farmers also with decision support, especially on irrigation. We have very interesting projects also in India, where we collaborated with Syngenta Foundation to develop smart technologies, which will ensure that the farmers have to only irrigate their crops when the plant most needs it. These are called crop critical stages of the crop. So how to conserve water so that you only deploy that limited water when the crop needs it. And that is based on soil sensors, but also satellite imagery, very interesting applications. Also harvesting machines that we developed, also weeding, that's the most, as I mentioned before, that's the biggest pain point of farmers. So now I'll come to the inferences or learnings, what have we learned through our experiences, across the world. We're present in more than 120 countries, for our projects. When it comes to smart technologies, one of the biggest challenge we see is with respect to data. Everybody thinks the more the data, the better. Yes, more data is good, but a lot of data is also not applicable. You need relevant data, and you need data mining. Data mining is very important. The right data mining tools so that you make more precise tools and support systems. The second is what we observed is there's a lot, ma'am, you mentioned there's more than 700 startups. Yes, there's thousands of startups, but scalability is a big issue. What we've seen is only a handful of technologies that are in the digital space have been able to be scaled up. So the business ecosystems are very important. So in our experience, the scale up is the biggest challenge, for digital technologies. And because the magnitude of the problem is so high, you need really, really impactful and scalable ideas. So that is our biggest learning that we had. Another seemingly interesting, but also very important challenge is the carbon footprint of digital technologies. Not many people have understood this, but the technologies which are being used to monitor the carbon footprint themselves are actually contributing to so this has to be dealt with. Another interesting challenge, or important challenge rather, specifically in the context of India, is education and training. These are complex problems that we're trying to solve. Farming might look very simple, but very, very complex, especially those which have to do with drought tolerance, etc. When you develop this technologies, you need many people to come together. This comes a little natural to the Dutch way of working, the multidisciplinarity and also the interdisciplinarity. But in India, I think there is a lot of need to develop some training programs, especially vocational training programs, so that the young entrepreneurs, but also students, are oriented to this multidisciplinary way of working, because the complex challenges means you have to bring many kinds of people together, not just software program developers or experts, but also agronomists, but also soil scientists. They all have to come and work together, and that is not easy. It's easier said than done. The last thing is citizen science. I think there was this flood in Jakarta in 2015. What they noticed is about 100,000 Twitter users. By analyzing their Twitter messages, they could create a platform which was used for alerting. So farmers are already very active in India on WhatsApp. So how to integrate that knowledge and also see farmers are co-creators of knowledge. So I think that's an interesting opportunity. So that brings me to the end of my presentation. Just one more slide. These are, we are looking for collaboration partners, both for applied research and also for fundamental research. And those of you who are interested to work with Wageningen, especially we're looking for problem owners in India. So I'll be more than happy to work with you. Thanks. I hope I'm in time. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It was really an eye-opener one more time, I should say. And the one that you left us thinking with is education and training. And I think that really plays a very, very important role in the entire scenario of what we're talking today. Our last but not the least speaker today, who's been
The speaker from India is
for
speaking,
us
sir.
for almost 1.5 hours now, is Dr. Ramandeep Singh. We are really happy to say that this pandemic, we say that
Am I audible? Am I audible?
Sir, you are audible. Please continue.
Okay. Respected Mr. Jasbir Singh, President, FCCI, Dr. Pramod Agarwal, Vice President, FCCI, Mrs. Reinert Sandhuji, Indian Ambassador to Kingdom of Netherlands, Harjit Singh Sandhuji, Dr. Ajay Sharma ji, Mr. Frederick, Mr. Kalyan, and Dr. Sheetat Dikshit. I'm privileged that I have been allocated for a very important topic, role of farmer producer organization for technological implementation. So conceptually, to be in line as far as my topic is concerned, I would like to throw some light on this agribusiness system as it reflects 5+2 components. If we start from farm inputs and ends at consumers, farm to fork concept is there. Integration is very, very important. We are supposed to integrate each and every component of agribusiness system. Judicious use of inputs by following state agricultural universities' recommendations in farming through recommended technologies will lead to more profits. Whatever is being produced should be proportionately processed so that we can work on limitation in agriculture. There are certain limitations in agriculture, that is seasonality, bulkiness, and perishability. Further, it is important to have a consumer orientation to be efficient in marketing as tastes and preferences are fast changing. And in interpretation, we are working on catering to the needs of consumers in Punjab as well as in all states of India through self-help groups, through the concept of collective bargaining, through self-help groups, by promoting individual entrepreneurs as well as by promoting FPOs and consortiums in our region. Two strong arms represents smart logistic support, that is storage and transportation. So this education, the basic education related to agribusiness system, as we are imparting this education to all the marginal and small farmers of Punjab as well as North India. The reason is obvious that we are interested to convert the unorganized small and marginal farmers, to organize the small and marginal farmers. Thus, it is relevant with this particular concept that we are to convert agriculture into smart agriculture, or we can say we are to convert agriculture into smart agri business. So another observation is that we consider all 13,000 villages of Punjab and 6.5 lakh villages in India as a unit. So earlier, these villages were self-sufficient. Now the economic shift disturbed this village system. So policy intervention is needed to become self-sufficient at village, block, and district level, as well as at state level. And this is only possible through collective bargaining. So under the banner of PAU, we are working on product and market development through social media, skill development center, Krishi Vigyan Kendras, and other allied departments related to agriculture of Punjab state. And we are working on the social media. We are having a lot of commodity groups. Almost we are covering all commodities, and we are running these virtual classrooms known as WhatsApp virtual classrooms, where the mushroom growers are together under one roof, where the beekeepers association is there, where the fruits and vegetable growers association is there. So on this virtual platform, we interact and we try to organize ourselves. And majority of the members, they are small and marginal farmers. Now, in line, these two messages are very, very important, which I'm going to deliver now, is market and product development. We are working on these two issues. This is just a pictorial depiction. The reason is that we are short of time, and the time earmarked to me is also limited. So this is the progress of on-farm markets in Punjab. So we are developing markets, as I said, in agribusiness system, as I mentioned this thing, that we are lacking marketing linkages. So that is why we are now promoting this marketing linkages in Punjab as well as in North India. So we are now implemented this particular on-farm market concept. This is just a pictorial depiction that on-farm, on-road markets are being developed by the farmers themselves. What is happening is that around these markets, normally around these markets, the small and marginal farmers, they club together, whatever they are producing, they bring that produce together. Apart from, in addition to that, they bring processed food also. And on-farm market representative is responsible for selling directly to the consumers, directly to the end users. And it is really, really doing good. And we promote this concept, keeping in view that eat locally grown food and stay away from allergens. So this way, Punjab state is curtailing the medical bill also, and the health is also it is also showing good results. So this concept is very, very important concept, and we have learned this concept from California markets. So this is Larry's Produce. You can always refer to the search there, and you can always see this link that how Larry's Produce in Fairfield, California is working, and we are working on the same concept in Punjab. It is just a replica of this particular concept being promoted there in the Fairfield region, Bay Area, California, USA. In line with this message, we are developing more number of products. This is a very successful event in case of PAU, in case of Punjab, in case of northern states. The more products we will develop, the more we will be attached to the consumers. So this is the concept. So we are trying to link the innovations being practiced there in the rural areas, there in the rural niches, and we are doing that hand-holding at state level and promoting these individual entrepreneurs, which can be a best base for, you can say, converting these individual entrepreneurs into self-help groups, then further self-help groups into farmer-producer organization. We are following this hierarchy, and these individual farmers, these individual agripreneurs, to be precise, they are PAU trained, they are Punjab Allied Agricultural Department trained human resource, and they are also instrumental in giving further training to their fellow beings around them. So this is just a pictorial depiction, just a snapshot. We have developed n number of products there in Punjab. This is example of honey sachet. This is example of that necessity is mother of invention. We have developed honey gift pack. It is Patiala-based farmer who has developed this particular gift pack related to commodity honey. So we are handling individual entrepreneurs as far as commodity handling is concerned. We have earmarked those commodities, and accordingly, the entrepreneurs are being trained, and they are being trained on issues related to direct selling, related to traditional distribution, following traditional distribution system, then packaging, labeling, branding, and so on. So this is another message, to be precise, that we are having in Punjab 13,000 villages. In India, we are having near about 6.5 lakh villages. Policy intervention is needed for connectivity so that exchange can be facilitated. There is no dearth of innovation in rural areas, but what is really needed is that we have to facilitate that innovation so that more number of products and more number of markets can be developed. So the rest of the things we have already discussed, so I don't want to repeat these things, that we are going to have 10,000 FPOs across India by 2030. Technologies are really required in a big way. So last message, that presently we are working on North India FPOs transformation, known as Northern Farmers Mega FPO. What we are doing in this Mega FPO, that it is being established in 2020, and MF has 43 members, farmer producer companies covering nearly 12,000 farmers. So this is a mega FPO. So main activity of this particular FPO is they are into agri input aggregation, quality assurance program, market linkage, industry engagement, then back-end infrastructure creation and contract farming. So they are working on these commodities as mentioned, made like potato, tomato, onion, kinnu, basmati, high value wheat, and so on. So these are basically, we have created certain niches in 3 states, Punjab, Haryana, and Himachal. So this is how we are working on this mega FPO, and this is the business plan for this mega FPO, and we are going to have such number of, definitely more number of such type of mega FPOs. The business model is very simple. It is having input-output relationship. The main beneficiaries are farmers at the end. We are providing them best retail price. We are providing them best price to the farmers. We are facilitating them at the value addition level. So we are facilitating them at pack houses, through primary processing, through agri input stores. So this is how the supplies of farm produce to exporters, processors, HoReCa, retailers, organizers, buyers, we have arranged. These are different segments of buyers, of consumers. So accordingly, we are taking care of the consumers. We are understanding the consumers, and accordingly we have made this plan, NFMF. So this is the business model. Here the customer segments are identified. We have identified those customer segments like households, HoReCa, institutions, exporters, traders, processors. So the channels are B2C, B2B, farmer markets, vendor sale. Then key resources, definitely we are instrumental in developing these key resources like integrated pack houses, cold chain infrastructure, e-commerce, quality surveyors, then working capital. So this way we are facilitating, say, 12,000 farmers, small and marginal farmers, and developing their collective bargaining, developing their capacity to bargain collectively. So this is the most important business model we are developing in Punjab. So this is how it is being aggregated. See, polyhouse farmers are there, progressive farmers are there, vegetable FPOs are there, fruit FPOs are there, cereal FPOs are there. Then there is a through SPV, the brand is Northern Farmers. We are approaching to households, buyer groups, institutions, exports, farmer markets, HoReCa, schools, and so on. As far as recommendations on how to accommodate with smart technologies, agri commodity groups should be promoted. So commodity groups we are promoting like anything. We are having protected cultivation group. We are having farmer produce progressive beekeepers association. We are having mushroom growers association. We are having piggery association in Punjab. Then we are having poultry association. We are having all commodity associations. So I think that is the biggest base we are developing, and slowly we are going to convert that consortiums keeping into these commodity groups. Then skill development training for enhancing leadership, motivation, communication, and managerial skills. We are really working hard on this in Punjab as well as in Northern India, that we are developing skill of marginal and small farmers to have them on a level playing field. Then single window financial and technology incentives should be provided to potential entrepreneurs. Smart technologies, identification and transfer of technologies through state agricultural universities, public sector undertakings with the support of identified private players. So here we enroll the private players also. Through their CRM projects, the private players in Punjab, they are investing money to uplift the marginal and small farmers through these self-help groups and through these individual entrepreneurial activities and through these FPOs. So they are investing some, they are pumping money and they are pumping technologies to upgrade or to uplift small and marginal farmers. So I'm really thankful to respected Sardar Jasbir Singh Ji, President FCCI, Dr. Pramod Agrawal, Vice President FCCI, and Mrs. Renat Sandhu Ji, Indian Ambassador, Kingdom of Netherlands. I'm really thankful to one and all. Thank you.
Dr. Ramandeep, can you hear me?
He's muted.
Oh, you are muted. Can you hear me?
No, sir. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
You're
So
audible, sir.
yeah, we will take no 10 minutes break. 10 minute break वो सारे फिर इत्थे ਜਿਹੜੇ physically present ने ਚਾਹ ਕਾਫੀ ਪੀ ਲੈਣ ਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹ question answer ਲਈ ਹੋਣਾ ਹੋਏਗਾ ਜਾਂ 10 ਮਿੰਟ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਨੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਰਹਿਣ ਦਿਓ 10 ਮਿੰਟ ਤੁਸੀਂ
ਹਾਂਜੀ sir, I'll be there. I'll be there for sure.
Okay, so ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵੀ 10 ਮਿੰਟ ਬ੍ਰੇਕ ਕਰ ਲਓ ਉੱਠ ਕੇ ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਸੋ ਮਚ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ
No
ਰਿਹਾ
issue, sir.
ਵੈਰੀ ਗੁੱਡ
ठीक सी sir, it was audible, sir. It was audible ना?
No, the questions है नहीं
Sir,
सारे में
सारा
होएगा
clear.
total question answer session होएगा so the question
ठीक
answer
है sir.
session 10 मिनट बाद करांगे ठीक है ओके फिर मिलते हैं
ठीक है sir. Oh, thank you.
years. Famous Lincoln, but what I want to stress is the importance of social media platform. I myself am part of a group of young farmers in Punjab. I was just showing Sheetal, it's a very active WhatsApp group. So we sometimes underestimate the knowledge farmers actually gain while doing, and that is there in a tacit way. It's never published, so that if there is some policy level intervention to understand our data rules now, privacy rules apply. But I think there is a lot of opportunity to create knowledge platforms using all the tacit information, knowledge flows which is happening in social media circles. So if we are able to harness that power, that is really, really relevant information. And right now it's happening not in a planned way. So we can actually maybe look at that.
Thank you very much. I would like to introduce two more.
Then please ask this question, but Professor Madan asked also to Dr. Ramandeep. He's sitting.
Yeah, sure. We'll come on that. Sorry for this bit of overlapping. You know, when you have something hybrid, everything becomes hybrid. So it gets sometimes a bit of confusion due to too much of hybrid nature. So on the panel here, other than the speakers who already we all listened to, there are two other experts on the panel only for the panel discussion. So I would like to introduce the two of them. One is Dr. Sheetal Dixit, Director of Business Development Asia at Key NWUR Netherlands. And the second is Mr. Thierry Tartrin, PhD candidate on drones for circular economy, Technical University Delft, TU Delft. Thank you and welcome on the panel. So now we go back first to the, oh no, that one is from here. Yeah, Dr. Ramandeep, on this last question, would you like to add something? The question which Mr. Badri Madan asked. You are on mute. Dr. Ramandeep, you are on mute.
It was not audible. It was not audible. So there was some connection problem.
Okay, then we will come.
Can you
to
repeat
that
the question?
We move on to the next.
So I think I've heard little bit of it. I would like to explain that he said that it is difficult to reach to each and every farmer.
Yeah,
I think that was the question, right? So we are creating models basically. We are creating models in Punjab. So jade uddami log hunde hai, people who are really having those entrepreneurial capabilities, we are selecting those people in different commodities, and we are making those leaders as a model in front of everyone, and they are taking care of that particular commodity in a best way. Say, for example, I will quote one example here. We are not going to each and every individual. We are only creating models so that it is a well placed belief in Punjab that seeing is believing, right? They generally copy each other. So that is why we are working on these models that beekeepers are being trained as part of Progressive Beekeepers Association. Few beekeepers, say the number is more than 100, those 100 of beekeepers, they have developed brands in their respective areas. Those are considered as local brands. And now people are following them. The small beekeepers having less colonies, they are also following that model, and they are selling at the rate of 400 rupees per kg honey there in the rural markets. So this is how we are creating a niche that for every commodity, we are handling different type of leaders in a different capacity. So we are giving them training. Further, they are giving training to their juniors. So this is how we are following this networking, sir. And most important thing, that for this purpose, we are using a platform, social media platform, in a very, very big way. We are having almost all commodity-based virtual classrooms. So you can be party to that particular classroom. Progressive Beekeepers Association, Mushroom Growers Association, vinegar makings are under one roof. Say, for example, soya processors and producers, they are under one roof. Their questions are very typical, and we generally try to give answers at PAU level or at State Agricultural Department level. So we are together, working together, creating those models, and it will be eye-opening models for juniors to follow. So this is how we have created this network. I think this is a big question mark that we cannot reach to each and every farmer, but we are trying our level best to reach to people who are having those skills. We are trapping those people. We are giving them training. We are giving them those skills which are required, say branding, labeling, packaging, direct selling, selling through mobile vans, selling on trade fairs, and it is giving a marvelous result. I'm really happy with this content.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ramandeep. That takes care of
that. Is my submission.
Thank you for that. And I think Mr. Thierry wanted to say something, because we have a lot of questions here. I'm seeing a lot of hands, so I will request that if all the panel members could be very precise in their responses, so that we can address more questions. Murli is also raising their hand that side, and so okay.
I just wanted to answer the question, because of course smart agriculture needs smart farmers, but primarily needs probably more smart data. And when you look at indeed the influence of phone and generally digitalization of agriculture in India, you can look at, for instance, like in the Netherlands, you have drones being able to change the farmers' processes, and data is really the key there. So you have, for instance, a platform in the Netherlands whereby farmers can literally book a drone to apply something, inspection or whatever, and the data is sent to a third party who analyzes the data and sends it back to the farm. So smart agriculture needs smart farmers. I don't think we can educate for any country all the farmers to that extent, but getting the right data at the right time with the right people, that I think is really prime concern. And in India, it actually happens already. There's companies like AgroStar, for instance, who have made a business of a platform providing farmers with that specific information on the basis often via the phone, for instance. So I think data there is the critical aspect of, let's say, getting farmers smarter.
Thank you very much, Thierry. And any other panel member wants to react on that within like 30-45 seconds? Otherwise, we go to the next question.
Because the company AgroStar was mentioned, and it's an amazing company. It's in Maharashtra. It started, but first farmers had to buy a kind of consultancy subscription to the service. But and then they could send a picture of a brown leaf, and then they had 1,500 agricultural experts sitting analyzing all these the questions that they got in. But it started as a subscription service, but now the service is free because they earn the money by because they would say, maybe you have to buy fertilizer or you have to buy some chemical, and they put in a very small percentage on top of the price. It's now mail ordering system, so the information is free. Information is free, and they earn the money from getting a little surplus on the product that is sold through their data system. Wonderful, wonderful company, AgroStar.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vasina. Thank you for this response. So, with panel's permission, we move to the next question, please, Mr. Murli.
My question is
Mic is not on.
Yes, as I said, my question is more about culture in India. Across the country, you see that there is an issue of the middlemen who play a very important role even today. Yeah? Now the question is how, and there is a lot of resistance for change from the middlemen. The question is how can the technology be used to see that the resistance to change by the middlemen is not much, and then it is acceptable to the farmers, and they also become a part of this solution. And we have already seen the impact of the resistance of change of middlemen when the farm laws were established. That's a very clear example. So now my question is on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Murali. So it's open to the whole panel. Please feel free to take the call.
Missing politicians here.
We have a sort of politician, Ravin Baldev Singh. Would you like to?
It's a sort of.
But I think it is in a way related to education and awareness. I think some people say traders are bad, but traders also are needed. For any business, you need women as long as they're adding value. So they have to add value with each level of as it goes through the supply chain. So these are supply chain actors rather than middlemen. But unfortunately, in agriculture, in India especially, with each stage of the supply chain, there is a markup that these traders or commission agents, as they call it, with a commensurate value loss. So you are actually paying them for a value loss, the way they handle the produce, the way they. So with checks and balances, I think if you can make a system where they are forced to add value to the product by handling it properly, by consolidating it properly, and also by implementing a more transparent price discovery mechanism, I think then automatically it will get more streamlined, because then the actors who are not adding value to the produce will automatically be weeded out. So it all has to come up with proper legislation to ensure that the middlemen are properly dealt with checks and balances. That I think no longer is possible.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that. What you see right now in India is also for the major food commodity crops, 50% of them are still unorganized supply value chain. So I think the impact or the change that we want to bring is obviously going to be much relatively easier in the organized value sector, where you can bring about the change by showing the value to the farmer, and it is happening as we see. One of the solutions without changing that direct dynamics is to actually convert the unorganized sector into organized sector, because it's not going to be beneficial only for the farmer, but also for the end consumer in all aspects, in terms of quality, standardization, but also returns and loss eventually that happens across these value chains in unorganized sector.
Thank you, Dr. Sheetal. I think Dr. Ramandeep is raising hand. He wanted to add something on this. Dr. Ramandeep? Okay, then we move to we lost his connection. We move to the next question, please. Yes, please.
Thanks. So it was a very thought-provoking session, like I was hearing to all the panelists. And one of the questions that was coming to my mind is like, when I grew up in India, and one of the key change, like difference I see when I see the farmlands in India and in Netherlands or abroad is that you would see very small plots, right? So every house, like they will have like sometimes so small, like not only small farmers, but very, very small farmers, like who just basically produce 20 or 25% of their own household consumption, even they're not self-sufficient for their house. And in those cases, I've also seen many times that there are lots of landless laborers of people like farmers, landless farmers who basically do on a share basis, where some people have small plots and they give it to some other people who don't have land. They try to produce something and half of it they share with the owner of the land, something like that, which is extremely inefficient. So while the technological innovations do serve a purpose in all the things, but I still feel that in India there's a large use case, a large inefficiency which cannot be basically overcome unless and until we are able to do something at a large scale where people are able to provide their lands and we try to do some structural change, like for example, quality of soil that you are mentioning, or irrigation facility that is improved, or you do a more, like I was seeing about the greenhouses in Netherlands, like how efficient they are, like you cannot bring those kind of efficiencies of scale in India if basically people continue to have land utilization in that format that a lot of people do in India. So can we also, like, have you also thought about it, and can we do those kind of things, especially for places like, for example, I come from Bihar, Bihar, and when I go to Bihar, I always see them. They're so small and irregular shaped lands, like where they do farming. I feel that it is very much needed that you are able to do it in a large scale where people join like a cooperative society or lands and do something at a larger scale.
I have a small request for all the questions that since we have a lot of interest, we are also receiving some questions. So if the questions could be restricted only to the questions, not on comments and adding more descriptions, because of we want to give opportunity to everyone to get a chance. So on to the panel.
Yeah, so I think it's a very good observation because we have talked during this session. This is the bottleneck actually. And if we have to draw any learning from the Dutch, I mean, we see the revolution that came in agriculture was also partly because the small landholdings started to become bigger and bigger. And that paved way for technology penetration. And also, like, if you talk about Indian Commission, you're right. I'm also optimist by nature, and I see and heard also a lot of things like organization consolidation happening at the different level with organizations like FPOs, and we heard also from Mr. Singh today. These are the steps that is consolidating a lot of activities, but even I do not know how we can maybe even add that element to the agenda to see or foresee. I think this is where we need the governments as well to see how we can convert these small land holding to one large land holding while securing the ownerships or of the farmers. I do not know the answer to that, but definitely this is one of the bottlenecks that the impact of technology implementation can be brought in a high way, because I represent the private sector, and our customers and partners in India, they often are challenging. If you talk to feed and ingredient industry people or seed industry people, they have their own farmers group, either through contract farming or through this loyalty farming basis. But every season they have to fight to retain that. And the reason is because they also can deploy the solution if they can if they can keep with a large group of farmers. Simply reason is when they have a collective large group of them. And what I'm hearing right now is that not a single company, irrespective of how large or small they are, have been able to grasp one piece of that which is more than 100 acres at a stretch. And now that can be a challenge for technology deployment. So nicely raised, but I think this is the element in the room that one needs to answer.
I have experience of going to Israel, but there we've seen that you have this collective ownership of land. So it's very difficult to implement. Think about it. But collective ownership is one way of looking at things, but it takes a real spirit of cooperation. But I'm very excited about what's happening in Japan. One of the highest productivity of lands, but the average landholder is only 2 hectares in Japan. Very small holding, but like how we did in Delhi, our average cattle ownership is only 2,000 coffee roasts, but the largest dairy producing country in the world. I think the demand side consolidation is helping in streamlining the supply chains. But if you have the right consolidation centers, which can connect the rural areas to the urban areas, like how they reach in daily, the collection center and district level, and also state cooperatives, for processing. So you need some kind of business model re-engineering, also in agriculture.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kalyan. Excellent point. Coming to that, because your response prompts me to say that technology has its limitations. Beyond that is a human element. You can't send pizza as an attachment with the email. It has to be given by somebody. A human being has to go and deliver. Either you go and pick up. So behind whatever smart technology or smarter technology, super smart technology, there are ultimately the human beings who are to implement and who are to get the benefit of that. It's not the holding. So I have many, because we are receiving some questions here, also feedback. Now over to you. So, yeah, please.
I think I fully agree with you. I just wanted to give an example which we are doing in Maharashtra. So in Maharashtra, there is a safflower, and that flower is used for the oilseed production, and that is special oil. And these are small farmers, so we connected 200,000 farmers, and we said, okay, you cannot have individually do this farming. If they do collective farming together, either under the FPO or whatever the structure, we provide them the seeds and we give them a forward buy. Even they remain as small holding farmers, they have the guaranteed of income, they have the seed input, then they can make sure they can do it. Then access to technologies like we are saying, okay, we are even discussing soil organic content, giving them the soil reports directly to individual farmers on their mobile phone. So they know what they can and they can't do. So this technology can reach those people. And by this activity, by selling, by buying, then at the end of the day, they can say, okay, even the soil organic content, they can use a carbon credit. This is 2-3 years down the road. We can increase the income of these small farmers by just providing this technology. So which do not have access to any output, because in Vidarbha region of Maharashtra, there is very lack of water and the soil quality is very low. That is the only thing they could produce. So that was one of the examples which I wanted to give, how the smart technology can help even the smallholder farmers.
Mr. Vasu, you wanted to add something?
No,
it's okay. Thank you very much, Ajay. Please.
So good afternoon again. I'm coming back to technology. We talk about smart technologies and possible implementation for India, that too for small and marginal farmers. My question is more about frugality and the affordability of the technology. You cannot just copy paste technology which is developed in this part of the world and bring it to an Indian context. You have to strip off some of the features. Probably you have to make it more robust. Probably you have to make it more affordable so that it fits to that environment. Any thoughts on that part? Because it's very important to adopt that technology that fits to the local climate or local condition. Anyone? I have one observation. Insurance products in India, for instance, volumes that we offer automatically puts pressure on companies. Still work with farmers because the economy is stable. I've seen with governments, pay insurance premiums on what is called the white patient card holders or below the poverty line. So they can suddenly go to any nursing home or any private hospital because the insurance has been paid for by the government. It's a win-win for everyone. So I think in India already we see what the price parity standpoint, managed to rate, managed to price sometimes even the service of the product that you want. So it's the numbers which we have, which we can use to our advantage in India to gain on the product price. It's happening already with every product. Take subscription costs for mobile telephone, for instance. Jio offered it for free initially. So it's phenomenal what we can do with numbers. And
Thank you, Mr. Kalyan. We have the Dr. Ramandeep from there wanted to say something. So over to you, Dr. Ramandeep. Go ahead. Dr. Ramandeep, can you hear me? No, it's frozen. I think it's frozen. That is a problem with connection, no? Because he has.
Ms. Dixit wanted to talk about, maybe she can.
Yeah, meanwhile, maybe we come to Dr. Deep.
Ms. Dixit wanted to say, right?
Sir, I want to.
Hello?
Am I audible, sir?
Yes, please.
Am I audible, sir?
Yeah,
Sir,
yeah.
my
Please.
point is that instead of small technology or smart technology, we have taken smart step that we have made a market, on-farm market there in village Kudua, Chandigarh Road. What happened, sir? After making that market, what happened that there is crop diversification around that market. Every farmer, small and marginal farmer, they are producing something and handing over that produce to the on-farm market and taking care of that profits himself. So this way, sir, their 6 monthly income pattern is being shifted to monthly, weekly, and daily income pattern. That is the most important thing the marginal and small farmers they need. they want to shift their income pattern from 6 monthly income pattern to monthly, weekly, and daily income pattern. The reason is that they want to meet their medical bills, they want to meet their kids' education bills, and so on. So that is the most important smart step instead of smart technology. Then there will be a smart technology after that. So we need to take small steps to organize them, to teach them business values, to teach them managerial skills, so that later on, so that in other phase, we can give them smart technologies so that they can adopt that smart technologies. That is my submissions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ramandeep. Appreciate your intervention. And I think Dr. Sheetal wanted to say something.
I just needed to add one more question to that, because what he said is very interesting. I really wanted to know, what about the education part? Because you're talking about smart technology, but these people are not literate even. They can't even read letters, forget about, technology. So in addition, how do you do that as well? If you could reflect a little bit on that. Thank you.
Well, so again, I'm not sure of the second part if I'm best equipped to answer that, but I wanted to make a comment that technology, the collection of smart technologies we're talking about in every sector, has many entry levels, right? We are right now just talking about the ones that are directly impacting the farmer, the ones that farmers can use it. But let's identify the stakeholders who are dealing every single day with these farmers. These are not just the people who are the traders, or that we often see companies, can be public and private both. They are very good because they know their customers, which are the farmers. And we as a company, for instance, we help bring technology to the seed companies, so indirectly helping the farmer, right? So that they can give better seeds, quality input to the farmers. Now, challenge is, and I keep talking challenges because I want to address the bottleneck, is often that there are proven technologies, and I think nobody disagrees with that. Is that what happens when you want to deploy that or implement that in India? So let's say a company comes in with the technology, it basically has two major concerns. One, how does your question come up? How does that technology fit into that Indian context? Because neither the agriculture system practices, nothing is comparable to India, because we talk about all the dynamics. The second is, how do I protect my technology? And we talked about involvement of private sector, but this is also a very important point, that a company wants to bring technology knowing that it is well protected, so that it's a win-win situation. So talking about that as a solution is that what we need to talk about when we are engaging with technology providers is that we need to do two things. First, we need a very robust system where some level of confidence, which can be extended on protection of IP. And second is, you talked about extension and education, is that I think these are inseparable. You cannot create a technology and say, here it is, and good luck with it. It's about, you need to work with the partners like we do with our partners in the seed industry. We show them how it works, we develop them, and we transfer it. So I think this is the main thing I want to emphasize, is that if we are looking towards Netherlands for technology, it needs to be not just development, but deployment and transfer. Because India is a price-sensitive market, and it will remain a price-sensitive market, and it's best served in the hands of the Indians. So it can't be done unless it is transferred. So it's something that we are actively doing as a company in India for the past 10 years with our partners. So we are trying to bring them back to our partners, which are in the best position to do so.
Yeah,
so that's one of the comments that I would like to make on education and transfer technology.
Thank you, Dr. Sheetal. Thierry, would you like to add?
I'd like to add something, because Pramad's question is about technology transfer, and there are a lot of opportunities when it comes to drones. And I would like to give you one of them. For instance, in the Netherlands, and Mr. Fossena knows all about it as well, it's about greenhouse moth. There's in greenhouses you have like moth flying around, and drone being developed, a small drone, actually situation. I've been in contact with this company, that can be. And I said, well, in India, for instance, there's lots of issues with, for instance, the black diamond moth, which causes problems with many crops. Now, wouldn't it be great to extend this wonderful opportunity technological opportunity to India? Because we can increase the crop by 70%. You're busy. But unfortunately, they are too busy with the greenhouse market right now in the Netherlands and Europe. So this, to me, would be a great opportunity maybe to develop with investors' money. I think there's investors in this room that would be interested, and maybe a combination with FPOs, and that would be a major interesting ground to start something. So when it comes to the subject of technology transfer, I think lots of opportunities are offered.
Thank you, Mr. Thierry. You are from TU Delft, so you will always talk of drones. It's very good to talk of drones here. But when we are talking of 126 million farmers who are below that, who are in that small marginalized and small one, the only drone most of them have heard is those drones which take pictures in the marriage halls. or from the across the border, the recent drone thing which we are hearing. Other than that, they do not know. So we will come, because again, it comes to that same question everyone raises, that technology is good to that point where people, I come from a small village in Punjab, those people haven't heard of any of these words what we talk. So then we go to the next question, Ambassador Sheikh Mohammed Bilal first, and then my friend Mr. Akmal after that, in that sequence. We have this side also. Yes, please. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Just briefly, thank you for organizing this excellent event. Excellency, let me just give you a few seconds to give some background. Excellency Sandhu, like you, I also came in this country as a representative of my country, but I love this country so much so, mainly because of the agriculture expertise. And I came to realize that coming from a country which is mostly agrarian, that my interest will better serve that if I can do more for these things. Mr. Pandit, your country is something that I'm deeply in love with. And I know that you play in a league that's, I don't have a name for it, okay? It's something extra. But there is something after working in this country as a CEO of a commodity fund. Thanks, Mr. Ramji, we have been using this word commodity. So I am increasingly frustrated because there is a huge blind spot. You mentioned about that avocado. You are one of the second largest exporter. You are also the, I think, world's most number one importer of cocoa. So when it comes to agriculture, we need to agree that there is nothing without the farmers. So we do everything, but at the end of the day, what the farmers are getting is very less, is shamefully less. The coffee that you are seeking, at the end of the day, I think they'll be happy if they get only a few cents. For the cocoa, how much they get. But I don't see any kind of research and statistical data as to how these farmers are getting from out of the commodity they are producing. It's very little research and data. So I'd like to kind of seek your suggestion that what as a commodity organization we can do to bring more income to the farmers through some smart ways. Like, can you not devise something so that when a chocolate bar is scanned and bought, that farmers who grew cocoa and Ghana can get something back? Can you do something like this? I'm talking on the cocoa. I can do for any other commodities, number one. And this is not a question, this is a request to Mr. Sandhiji, because you know that Mr. Frederick, thanks for making a reference to International Year of Millet, which is 2023. Thanks to India, because of your resolution, it has been accepted by the UN. So in the 2023, I would like to propose and seek your support whether we can do something to promote this international millet in this country. My organization will be happy to be a part of this. Thank you.
It's open to the panel, please.
Well, I think that's a very good question, a very impressive question also. And it's not only a matter that relates to the growers of cacao and avocado, but also in the Netherlands to the growers of onions and potatoes and all agricultural commodities. Farmers are complaining about that the power in the supply chain is not on their side. And the interesting thing is, because this is also already for years, there's been a debate in Dutch Parliament that the farmers should get more for their efforts. And the incredible thing is that there's been a lot of research done on how in the supply chain the prices are being fixed, and we have not reached any good conclusion about this. Of course, it very much depends on the sector that you talk about, and maybe cacao and avocado. I cannot comment much on because it's because, as I said, we don't produce it. But for example, if you look at the milk price, the processors, of course, the dairy farmer might get maybe 40 cents a liter, and they retail it for €1. So the difference is maybe 40, 60, which is pretty high for the farmer. And then the processor is very often a cooperative which is owned by farmers. So and you will get some at the end of the day, kind of at the end of the year, kind of a premium. So they profit, the farmers profit from what is done in processing. But still, for onions and potato, it's horrible. It's horrible what they get. I fully agree. And the retailers, they have their own mechanisms. Of course, with blockchain, you can expect more transparency in the supply chain and get more information about what every part in the supply chain is adding in value. But for the time being, with the thousands that they are, the farmers, that's not a good bargaining position to start with, and it is totally intransparent. But I have much sympathy for your question, but it is also related to farmers in Western Europe. But maybe some of my colleagues have, I think bargaining has also done a lot of research, but I happily pass the microphone to Talio. But I cannot give you a conclusive answer except that I fully take your points.
I can only give you an example of a project which we're doing for farmers in Haiti. So mango farmers, so we developed basically a system for them and help them get a market linkage. But what essentially the time is your question of coding, barcodes and standards. So the consumer who is eating the mango here in the Netherlands, when he buys the mango from Haiti, he knows the story. He can take back to the tree where it is probably a farm. So he knows the exact tree where it is produced. So you're selling a story to a consumer. We know the farm. And we are also developing a mechanism of having an incentive plot back to the farm. So exactly, and I can share more details with you now about this.
Thank you, Mr. Kalyan.
Maybe I can just ask one more comment, because in the early days of COVID, there was a sense in Dutch society, maybe you remember that things were changing. People were, there was a lockdown and people went to look for their food. They looked for farmers to buy cheese and they bought their milk at the farm, and vegetables and potato. There was a general sense, a kind of optimism that the short supply chain is now happening and people are willing to buy more for their food because they appreciate health and all that kind of thing. And it is evaporated, all that sense. People no longer look for that short supply chain, and we're just back to where we came from in that respect. We wasted an opportunity, and maybe I explained about food security. Maybe we are moving back to a situation where the efforts of farmers get a higher appreciation. Let's hope so.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vasana. I think we go to the next question, Mr. Akmal. Yeah.
Thank you. I don't think we have farmers in the room here.
No, we are two farmers.
The question about it is not technical. The question is the cost price. The price, what the farmer gets. We as a farmer, we get the less money than the in Suriname, what we have done, we make a cooperation. Because everybody had 1.5 hectare. So we had 120 there, and 20 we use for own use, and 100 we sell. Then we get less price to make the cooperation. So we can talk a lot of technique, and what we Wageningen had brought technique in Suriname. We had one crop per year. Then we used the land from our cow and goat. And what we know, instead of one, you can use two. You can 3 times. That's me. Where is going my cow? And we have using a lot of apparatus. So what we have to do is for the small farmers, use the technique and use the know-how of the local farmers also, because we are bringing from Holland education of those countries, but we don't use the local ecosystem. So do that, and then you can.
Thank you, Mr. Akmal, for your comments. But if there is any question, then you can. There is behind that, and Mr. Sachin Soni on this side first, and then we come to you on the back side, and there is on coming to.
Thank you, Mr. Madam. My question is, if you were to invest 10 million on the knowledge you all have, what would be your highest conviction idea? Each member can answer, or we can be okay, top 3 are there.
Thank you so much for the question, but let me remind the panel.
It's not philanthropy. We may need to make a return on that 10 million.
Yeah.
What would you put it to work?
Thank you. We have 8 minutes remaining for the whole program. 3 more questions.
Well, I would put it down on investment in drones, and in both presentations you saw aspects of drones specifically to precision agriculture, but actually you have a lot more applications of drones all the way in the value chain to delivery of products that are finished. So there's a long range of applications of drones within the value chain. We touched upon just a few of them, like for instance crop spraying and so on. And I would put my money into drones definitely, because this is going to change basically the value chain in terms of value. What is the value of the drone applications and for which stakeholder in the value chain? And then when you start to dig there, then you will see that drones will impact the value chain in the big way.
Thank you, Thierry. Thank you. I think Dr. Shid, question is interesting. Everyone wants to react.
I know what her answer is going to be. She doesn't know what my answer is going to be.
Go ahead.
And she would be surprised to hear that my comment would be plant breeding. New varieties, drought resistance, saline resistancy, all that kind of thing. Plant varieties. Are you surprised about that answer?
I'm not surprised, but I'm very pleasantly happy that you just said what I would say as well. Is that I would put that money into developing new traits for the crops that are required for India. Because it's not going to help a single technology for a specific area, it's going to help everybody in the value chain. And that is the need of the times, the changing climate situation that we have at hand. But also, we talk about local is the new global. India needs to produce, not just for being self-reliant, but to become that exporter for the globe, basically. So having this very high level agenda for the nation, I think I would put my money there to develop new traits.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sheetal. We come to, I know there are many, but sorry, I have to do that hard thing here, be firm and polite. So I'm polite and firm. That is only one question here that we have here waiting since long. So please bear with us. That will be the last question. And my apologies to Sumanji and other friends who still are interested. So Satrupa, please read this question. It has come online.
Yeah,
so we have
maybe
to
all of you can read it, but just for the sake, because the moderators can't read that. How do we increase partnership between industry and academics in India? With Wageningen University, Netherlands has managed to create an amazing ecosystem. How do we replicate this in Indian context? And this has come from Prakash Iyer, who's also a trustee of FCCI.
So maybe I can speak on behalf of Huawei. So we are very active with collaborative projects, both academic as well as business projects. So, but I don't know at what level of academic collaboration is seeking. I think there is opportunity for student exchange programs. We just got a communication from UGC, the chairman of the University Grants Commission, that there is no framework and there is funding available for student exchanges. So I think those syllabus can actually keep it on action and do more than collaboration. But we have one campus policy. We can't open a campus outside the Netherlands. We do have a project office in Beijing. We have about 5 employees there. We also have it in we also have it in Africa. We have an entity now, a legal entity. India, we're very keen. So, but we can never have a campus. You know, we might have projects.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, I would like to answer that in a very general way from Indo-Dutch perspective. One of the learnings we can take from what Netherlands did is the food value concept. And we are all part of that ecosystem, not just Wageningen University or another academic partner, but not just public, private, but also governments, farmers organization. And it's a beautiful platform. If you talk about Netherlands and agriculture, food value is talked in the same breath. And if you really look into that platform, it is actually the platform that all stakeholders are connected, whether it's a farmer to academia to industry. And that platform in itself doesn't give any tangible thing out there, but it's a platform where you can exchange everything: know-how, technology, education, training, academic exchanges, but also business exchanges, governmental, bi-governmental program exchanges. So that platform, I believe, is actually a brand. It's a very good thing that maybe we can try to replicate in India, because I think besides the companies, as a company, we are also part of it. What I see that India can benefit a lot from having such platforms is like now we got this whole startup culture coming in India. And often small companies have issues introducing themselves because they are often very small. So if you get a membership to such a platform, it's a branding in itself. So people take you seriously, they want to look into your products and all that. So I feel that that is another way to bring all the stakeholders together for all kinds of mandates, and they have like twice a year or 3 times a year seminars to listen on different topics. So that's one thing we can learn. That has helped incredibly to put the whole agriculture activities of Netherlands on the map. The other thing I would like to say is the center of excellence that we are now trying to create in India is what we have not talked of so much is that, of course, we are having these platforms, or let's say the mega parks, which connects the distributor, the producer, and the processor. That's great. And there are peers which are consolidating farmers, and that's great too. What we also need to do is have a technology center of excellence, where Dutch companies can bring in technology, can give training to learned, skilled partners, counterpartners of like Indian companies, and do that in a way which is cost effective, and create an ecosystem where they can absorb the technology and benefit collectively. Something that we have also already done here. So these are, I would say, if we want to take some learnings from the Netherlands, these are very concrete things which we have already started going in India, and which we can try to implement. And this would be very attractive for companies like us, for instance. We've got a new, for example, in the technology sector, just to quote an example to put things into perspective, we have recently issued a guidelines on genome editing, for instance, in India. And I think this has been a technology that the whole agriculture sector has been looking forward to make better and faster crops that are in need. So let's say if a company like us is fully capable of doing that, how do we want to do it? It's not the technology itself, it's the whole ecosystem we will need to also create for these companies for different crops. And a center of excellence could be a very good point where we can come in with the technology, we can educate and help build that ecosystem so that eventually they can start using the technology. So sometimes technology is only used as it is this, it is everything that is associated around it, the whole network for one to use the technology. So that could be another takeaways, I would say, that we could try to implement in India.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sheetal.
Can I just add something to do with education and research very shortly?
Yes, please, the last one, because we are.
No, it's to do, you would have guessed it with drones. And it's an international platform for researchers. And so that's exactly the point you just made. And it's to disseminate knowledge throughout the world. And that platform is called dronefusion.org. And it's also, I recommend those who are interested in agriculture and drones, but also drones, to look there and register. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Thierry. Before I invite the president to give the closing remarks, I think it will be courtesy to ask our external expert who is not here to, if any last minute 30-second thing you want to add, one-liner, anything before we close the discussion. Dr. Ramandeep? Okay, so with that, thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Sir, in addition to...
Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
What is their input from the experts?
No. Okay, we'll leave that.
In addition to whatever input has been given by the experts, I want that through CSR, majority of the companies in India, they are adopting villages. That is the best thing of private organizations, that they are adopting villages and they are pumping money on education part of it.
Okay, we get that point, Dr. Ramandeep, adopting the village and further education. So with that, we conclude this panel discussion and question and answer session. Thank you to all the panel members and thank you to
a lot of private players. Their money in those villages for education.
These questions. So I invite Mr. Jasveer Singh, President of FCCI, to give the concluding remarks and vote of thanks. Mr. President.
Well, thanks to the moderators first. My younger brother, Harjit Sandhu, Satarupaji, did excellent job. It was difficult managing, of course, in such short time and a lot of questions, and we could go on for another hour. I'm sure that there's enough interest, but we have always some limitation of time. Before I proceed further, and of course, this task was assigned to our President Emeritus because of some health reason. He couldn't be here, so I have to do the double job. Otherwise, I avoid normally being twice on the stage, so that more people should get the opportunity to interact with the audience. Just one take, for me, very, very important. We have different kind of sessions, seminars, and themes. Today's theme was how we use technology to enhance farming. I heard very interesting questions. Why are we discussing that? Because our farmers can't read and write and that kind of questions. Just in one sentence, I would like to answer that. Please don't be slaves of the past. Be architects of your future. That's the point. We want to, yeah. This is what this message, what we are discussing here is for future, not the farming that, okay, my parents or their grandparents couldn't write and read or write or something. No, these days you see almost every farmer having a mobile in his hand. So it is just a fable, old kind of perception that people don't know the digits or they don't. So let's leave that behind and look about the future. And especially our interest is to invite younger generation to go into agriculture. But that's the need of the hour. We need, I mean, there's a lot of people, youngsters especially, unemployed. And farming sector can absorb a lot. And so our target should be the future generation of ours, and their technology is absolutely a must. So this is in short. I'm not expert on that. I'm also learning, hearing a lot of new concepts that for the first time. But this was at least my understanding about what we can do, about what we discussed today. Well, friends, I hope you enjoyed this event, and it's always a pleasant task to make some concluding remarks and then propose a vote of thanks. I think all would agree that all presentations were of very high caliber. Thanks to all the speakers. For the sake of time, I'm not going to thank you one by one because that will take another 15 minutes, and I think that may not be appreciated. So each one of you contributed richly to our understanding about what is smart farming about. And I'm sure that this will also lead to, hopefully, of course, our Madam Ambassador is here, and we have a representative from the Dutch Ministry of Agriculture. We have a representative from one agricultural university from India and one from here at least. So there should be there is scope of cooperation, and really hope that that's exactly the intention of such events, that to get something tangible out of it, and hope with your cooperation we can do something. And my apologies also to those friends who couldn't ask the questions. As I said earlier, there's always a restraint of time, but always there is a possibility to send your comments, your questions to FCCI, and we will try to accommodate that. Satarapaji is preparing a report, and she will accommodate that also, and we'll come with some kind of a report. With that, we can move forward. It is my pleasure also to thank a couple of special guests. Of course, foremost, our chief guest, Madam Ambassador. It's the first time, I think, that we got something positive out of a negative something, that we were getting late. She was supposed to leave at 3:30. She thought we will conclude our presentations by 3:30, and she could go back to Hague and then come back for the dinner. Because we were late, she couldn't do that. So that's something that's nice coming out of something quite. Then, of course, my thanks also to our former ambassador, Madam Bhaswani Mukherjee, and our, I think their colleague, I should say, ambassador from Bangladesh, Sheikh Bilal Sahab. Of course, he is directly involved with the agriculture now, and very nice input came from his side. Well, of course, that as far as the University of Wageningen is concerned, we all know, and we have been interacting with them. I think earlier were your other colleagues. I think about our first session was on agriculture. That was some 12 years back. Yeah. Then there were other representatives from University of Wageningen, and hope to be working more closely with you. Well, friends, then of course that as I said, the ministry and the university here, I think they are very should be and must become useful partners for India, because India is a land of opportunities. You can never get so much opportunity in any land when you compare to India, and future of India is of course, and with your cooperation, hopefully India will progress more fast than it's doing already. Well, friends, this was, I think that content-wise, it was a successful event. And of course, as far as organization is concerned, it is also, it went well despite some hitches. I think that before concluding, a couple of persons who have made this possible today. I have to thank them personally. I regret something today, by the way, that one of our best speakers in this country, and I think some kind of politician we can say, but now he's national coordinator of against racism and discrimination. He can speak very loud. He doesn't need any microphone or something. But today he was silent. So I this was something I noticed very profoundly. Hope next time we will bring you this side. Okay, Ravinji. But thanks for being with us. Well, friends, as I said, thanks to our moderators, thanks to I would like to thank our Secretary General, who was very active, and she will be active. She has to be more active in the coming days. Because I was talking to her, she needs to be on the forefront much more. She's a little bit shy, highly educated person, but she somehow avoids limelight. Our thanks to Satarupaji, who will prepare the report, and thanks to our Vice President Finance, who also double rolled because the event manager is not here. So he is doing that. And then, of course, Director of PR, Suman Kornhoff, Mr. Rajkumar Shinkar, done a wonderful job in reaching out to participants. Thanks to Manas Manohar for technical facilities being provided here. And I think that the most important person without whom we cannot have any event as FCCI is my colleague, the Vice President, Dr. Pramod Agarwal. Huge applause, please, because I have said very often, whatever we do, more than 50% of the job is done by him alone, and we as a team do the rest, less than 50%. So it is amazing to have him around. Okay, fine. And for me, it's an honor to be a part of such a wonderful team. And of course, last but not the least, you, the audience. Without you, there can be no successful event. So my thanks also for your presence and also for interactive participation, your active participation and your input. As I said earlier also in my comments, that each one of you is able to make intellectual contribution to this kind of discussions. So with those words, I would like to thank each one of you. I would hope to see you back. Just one more request. I think our Vice President already said in FCCI, we need always, we are looking for more talent, younger blood, new ideas. So if anyone thinks that we are doing some good job and wants to strengthen the FCCI to serve India in a better way, please join us. Well, with those words, I think that I would like to thank each one of you. Maybe one round of applause also for the audience. Yeah. For our guest speakers, just a token of appreciation. In addition, of course, we have learned a lot. We gained a lot from your input, but just a small token. We have some flowers. And now I would like to request Dr. Yamini J. Singh, our Secretary General, to help me with that, to hand over flowers to our guest speakers first. Yeah, you do it, please. Okay. Well,
thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah, we have 4 guest speakers. Ajay is one of us. You have got it. Sorry, Ajay. Yeah. Okay. Now give them first. Okay. Then we can make picture. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. One more. No. Okay. Well, okay. Thanks, Yamini. Thank you very much. Dr. Ramandeep Singh, we cannot hand over you a bouquet here. Oh, please wait. Please wait. We cannot hand over a bouquet to you, but we have managed that you will receive at home, hopefully tomorrow. So please accept that. Well, then we have, of course, our chief guest. I would like to walk over to her myself. Madam Ambassador, please.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay. And of course, somebody coming from very far away, a very dear friend, and of course, former ambassador of India, Ms. Bharati Mukherjee. One bouquet for her, please. Well, friends, we are late, but so snacks are getting cold. So please enjoy. With one, oh yeah, we would like to have a photograph with the speakers and guests of honor, chief guest. Just for a second, I hope it doesn't take much time. No, okay, please. Then you can stand up there, maybe in front, and then and after that we go for snacks. Friends, after that, most of us, I think, have already given the name. They would like to join the dinner at Indian restaurant Darbar in Hofdorp. But anyone can go anytime. They are waiting for us after the photograph, please. Thanks again.
Okay, all the FCCI trustees, all the trustees from FCCI, please.
कितना लाइन नहीं बनेगी ना
Yamini.